In a world filled with conflict, in a universe comprised of differences, there's one thing that absolutely everything shares in common. We all exist. Including two guys named Jack and Michael, who like to chat about that very thing over a good cup of coffee. Let's pay them a visit, shall we?
Existence Brewing.
Tall and tan, young and pretty, the girl from Ipanema goes walking. Isn't that how it goes?
That's some mighty good singing.
And when she passes, each one she passes goes, ah. You know who sung that the best? I think Frank Sinatra.
Yeah, Mr. I Did It My Way.
She likes
I just want to know how.
His way? What?
That was his big claim to fame, Frank, I did it my way. It's just like, yeah, but how? How were you able to do it your way, Frank? That's the big question. We're all thrilled that you were able to do it your way. Good for you. How? We'd like to know the secret. How were you able to circumvent your Hollywood handler masters in order to do all these things your way? Because typically speaking, that's not the ride that most musicians especially get from their agents and those at the record company. Record companies are well known for spoiling a good thing because they think they have this great idea. And after all, they have all the money in the recording studios and the power. I mean, it's a little different now because we have the internet and anybody can be a rock star if they try hard enough. But still, if you want to make the big money and play the concert halls and the stadiums that are sold out and be the next person to get cloned and lose their corporeal existence to the Matrix, like Taylor Swift, then, you have to do things not your way. So, in fact, I think Taylor Swift should actually do a song that pays homage to the opposite because she just says, I did it their way.
What's that sound? Are you mixing guacamole or something?
No, like I told you, I brought my laptop today, as you can see, and I'm like obsessed with brushing it out. It's got all of these little tiny slits in it. It's an Alienware.
Mm-hmm.
And it has, because it's an Alienware, it has all these fabulous aesthetics that are completely impractical. So it's got all these little tiny grooves and cutouts and things all over the keyboard, and stuff gets in there and dirt and lint. And so I found this little brush and I'm trying to brush it all out. So
you're brushing out your grill.
I need to stop doing that. Yeah. I don't have a grill, by the way. I remember doing a piece on FM radio years ago, and it was about me not having a grill and being obviously less of a man in the eyes of general society as a result. And a guy stopped me. I don't remember what I said. It's basically just that, but I guess I went into more detail. And I had a guy stop me. He knew me, like he knew where I worked. He knew that I worked at the radio station, so he knew that I was a personality there. And he stopped me. He said, God, that thing you did about the grill was just hilarious the other day. And I was like, I'm glad somebody found it funny, because I was actually kind of half not joking. It's a sad plight to be in my position, to be in a group of strange men and you're like, well, I got out the big green egg, and I'm just going, what does this guy read Dr. Seuss at night? Or, I got no friggin' clue what you're talking about.
I was referring more to like the Little John grill.
The Little John grill? I don't know what that is.
The producers.
The Little John.
Yeah. The producer's going to have to fill you in on a grill. It goes in your mouth.
Yeah. A grill goes in your mouth? The Little John grill goes in your mouth. I'm totally lost. I got nothing.
Oh, it's when you see their teeth and they're all like bedazzled.
Oh, okay. So Little John must be some kind of rapper.
Yeah. The kids are.
You bring up these rappers. I have no clue who they are.
He's all the rage anymore. But I think we just coined another $1 million idea: the Little John grill.
The actual grill that has the diamond, like you grill on it outside.
And you could put your hot dogs on it and cook them.
A jewel-encrusted hot dog. Who doesn't want that on the 4th of July to remind them who's really in charge? I ate it my way.
Yeah! I could just see it now.
Oh, good grief.
The wieners be smoking.
Yeah, so I had to tell, there's a couple little things that happened recently I thought I could share with you.
Yeah.
The first one is I've been meaning to share this. It happened the other day. We'll just say that for the sake of me trying to actually place it in my memory. It wasn't that long ago.
The time-space continuum is so jumbled on this podcast, so nobody really knows what time it is.
No, and time isn't real anyway, so that's perfect. It's just a concept. It's just a way for us to measure our mortality, and that's pretty much it. So I was walking down the street. I was taking a walk. I've been actually going to the gym, as you know, or the Gym, as I like to call it, as Homer Simpson once called it. And just like I do a mile and a half on the treadmill. And the best thing to do, of course, is to go walk out in nature, but sometimes the natural environment just isn't accessible. So I haven't been taking as many walks outside of work, but I was taking one the other day, walking along, and I saw this pigeon. I love pigeons, by the way. I'm like Bert from Bert and Ernie from Sesame Street. I love pigeons. He loved pigeons. I love pigeons. They're great. I love all avian life. I love all life, basically. I mean, you can find a protozoa fan in me, but birds are especially fun to watch. I've always been a huge fan of birds. So I'm watching this pigeon as I'm getting ready to cross the street, and he's in the middle of the crosswalk in the street, and he's flipping this thing, and I can't quite understand what is going on exactly. And so I walk by, and it's clearly some kind of food item, and he's having to dodge cars and people walking, and
but he's tenacious.
He's tenacious, of course, like all pigeons. He's determined whatever this is, and I can't
because they're like cyborgs.
Out
really, they're not real birds. They're like cyborgs.
Well, they have the birds that have the real wind up look and feel, and definitely the sound, are the starlings. The starlings make that noise that's just mechanical, and they also sort of and they walk around very mechanical, kind of like ducks do when they're on land. When in the water, though, they're just smooth, and kind of when they fly too, they're very almost. It's like something Da Vinci would have been toying with. It got off the ground, but it didn't look good doing it, sort of thing. But he was still like far ahead of his time for even getting that far. So anyway, I passed this pigeon by and wished him the best with whatever he was doing. Then I come back and I see he's still doing it. I mean, this is 3 blocks one way and then 3 blocks back the other. And so he's still in the same crosswalk, still doing it. He's got some observer. There's some observer friends around him too that are watching this. They're kind of like, that thing. So I finally stop and I said, "What are you doing?" And so he kind of wanders away as I reach down to pick up this object. And it's almost rubberized in some way, but it's a potato chip. It's some kind of a potato chip, but it's been waterlogged in a way that's made it impossible to, it's not brittle. It won't break up. And so I was like, "Oh, you poor thing. You're trying to get some, because his beak is only so big and he can't eat the whole thing." So I stood there in the crosswalk with them, dodging traffic, tearing this potato chip into little teeny tiny pigeon-sized bites. And they were just delighted to get the help. And then there were other friends that wandered over and like, "Oh, look, he's tearing it up for us." And it was just awesome. I love moments like that. Everybody talks about convening with nature, and we get our cue the granola bar commercials, with the woman who's at the top of the frickin'. Yeah, thank you. That's bucolic enough, I suppose. But the Nature Valley, cue the Nature Valley granola commercials where the family's on top of the giant apex and they're overlooking. They're the only ones up there because they're the only ones that can reach it, because they're the only ones that had enough fucking granola bars to power them to get to the top, which is the insinuation. I'm not talking about convening with nature in that way. I mean, just like not super urban. We live in a small town, but it's urban enough. The Pidgeys are hungry, and it's just like you reach down and I'm tearing up this chip for you. I mean, I live for moments like that. It was great, and they were so thrilled. And I always feel like, God, for lack of a better term, I'll just go there, is somewhere just going, nice job, Jack. Well done. You did exactly what you should have done. You passed him the first time and were curious, which is more than most would do, but the second time you got right in there and helped. So thank you for helping my beautiful pigeons. I'm so glad I created you in my image. I've never looked so good, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I was
to be a little like God complex vain about it.
When the music started, I was thinking more along the lines of, look, kids, there's the Birdman of Main Street. Oh, yeah, it's the Birdman. Why does he have such a funny robe on, Mommy? Well, kids, he wears the robe because that's his clothing.
I'll be the Birdman any day. I will be the Birdman of my hometown's Avenue any day. That's there's a line, the original movie doesn't have this title, but I think it's my favorite Tom Hanks movie, actually, if we can forgive him for drinking all the adrenochrome he supposedly does, I guess. But
what's
long enough to oh no, we're gonna oh no, do we have to go down this road?
No, I think we gotta mention, what is it?
No. I have a coworker who's all about, she gives you a list of celebrities whose movies you shouldn't watch because they drink adrenochrome to stay on top of the Illuminati times. Adrenochrome is supposed to be this substance that is, have you ever seen The Dark Crystal?
No.
Okay, so in The Dark Crystal, they have these things called gelflings, and the bad guys, which are these things called Skeksis, they want to drink their essence, and they have this system for getting the essence to leach out of their bodies, and it's this gazing that occurs. It's almost like the deadlights in It. You've seen that?
Yeah. I've seen that.
So think of like the Deadlights meets A Clockwork Orange, where they're propping their eyes open with the
right. Okay.
And forcing them to. So when they gaze upon this ray, the essence, they become entranced, and the essence leaches out of them, and of course they lose a piece of their reality or soul, I guess, or whatever it is, and you can literally see it dripping into this little thing, and then the Skeksis drink it, and it prolongs their life. Same exact concept, except it's Hollywood Illuminati stuff, and they get this out of children, and the way they get this out of children is to scare them. It's fear that produces this substance, and apparently it's supposed to, from what you read on the internet, if you go down these rabbit holes, these dark holes in the middle of the night, it's supposed to be better if the children are black children. It works better if they're black because it's a stronger formula complex that comes out of them. And they do this by placing them in situations where they are tortured and afraid for their lives, and essentially torture them to death until this substance leaches out of them. And then they drink it in this Illuminati reptilian frenzy, and it prolongs their life. Look at Martha Stewart. She drinks a ton of the shit. She drinks a quart a morning. There's no fucking way she's 80 without.
So
are you kidding me?
So Tom Hanks is on record as to drinking.
No.
Okay, sorry, you lost me.
No one is on record for having to drink this stuff. It's a conspiracy theory.
I was going to say, this sounds very QAnon. This sounds very pizzeria basement QAnon-ish.
It's very Pizzagate kind of, but it goes further because it ties in, like I said, with the Illuminati, reptilian being.
So you can't just buy a bottle of this Omicron?
Not yet. Maybe you can if you're in the swap, if you're in the club.
On the dark web, maybe? Is that where you... So
no,
how does...
I don't know.
How does this coworker produce a list of clients?
I'm guessing if you're Bill Clinton, you can probably call up Tom Hanks and say, "Hi, Tom. Hey, I'm out of adrenochrome."
It's kind of like doTERRA, right?
Here in Little Rock. I was wondering if I could get some from you, and he'd just say, "Got plenty out there." So
it's like a doTERRA salesman, right? He does it door to door. Within friends.
Look, here's the thing. It's like the celebrity thing, if you admire someone's work, I mean, what are you going to do? I'm guessing, unfortunately, 9/10 of the celebrities that do something you admire. And again, I hate to go to this mountain again, but we're not talking about the reality stars of the world that don't do anything. We're not talking about keeping up with the you-know-whos that basically there's nothing to keep up with. They're rich, plutocratic, just a-holes who sit around and flaunt their money and their fakery. I'm talking about actors who we admire. I really liked your performance in this. I really admired the music on this album. You know, those people, the ones that have sold their souls to be on the Hollywood stages of the world, just don't go there. Just don't go to their personal lives. You don't want to know what they do. Just admire their craft and leave it alone, because 9/10 of them are slime. They're probably horrible human beings who, I mean, how could they not be? They're surrounded by all of this fantasy. They're above you and me by far and away. They get this red carpet bullshit treatment, rose petals everywhere they go. And I mean, we've all heard the stories. I don't want to know that about the musicians or the actors or actresses that I admire. I just want to admire their performances and leave it at that. I don't want to know them personally, but people push it, and then they want to know them personally. And apparently this is one of the things that you might find out if you dig deep enough, is that your favorite celebrity drinks adrenochrome in the morning or whenever they drink this stuff with Red Bull. And so, yeah, we work.
There's a Forbes story. There's a Forbes story about this. They say, and in fact, it even mentions QAnon Pizzagate in the first few lines of the story. It's a blood harvest chemical, adrenochrome, to stay young, and has been embraced by subscribers of the QAnon and Pizzagate conspiracy movements, including key people affiliated with recent hit movie The Sound of Freedom. Yeah, Forbes did a story on this. Interesting.
Wow,
the things you learn while over coffee.
So, Forbes did a story on this.
Forbes
so that should tell you
that
should lean at least a little bit to the potential validity of something along those lines being, God forbid, true. Forbes touched this.
Yeah,
I mean,
they touched
that's
it.
That's pretty amazing to me.
I mean, they completely dashed that it's a real thing, but they essentially touched on the conspiracy theories surrounding the false claim that Russian President Vladimir Putin destroyed a plant in the Ukraine and intercepted shipments of adrenochrome heading toward the United States. So maybe that is what justifies why he invaded the Ukraine. I don't know. Oh, this is crazy talk. The things you learn over coffee.
I work with someone who will, like I said, provide you with a scroll of all of the actors and actresses you should avoid. She knows exactly who is imbibing in this stuff and who is leaving it alone.
Firsthand.
And me, I just say, look, what do you want me to do about it? I mean, I'm going to go back and unwatch all these movies that I have come to enjoy because the person who's in it, it's like songs, it's like finding out that, well, for example, Woody Allen's a great example. I have always been a huge admirer of Woody Allen. He's a phenomenal writer, in my opinion. I wish I could write like him. I wish I could storytell like him. So I wish I could be in some ways like Woody Allen. Everybody with the, oh my God, he's a child molester. He's a pervert. He married his adopted daughter. Of course, he did it when she was an adult, but well, that clearly says that he was diddling people. What is it any surprise that his life would wind up being like one of the movies that he would write? I mean, honestly, does it really surprise you that his actual life would mirror something that he would script? Of course not, because if you look at your own life, you're going to find pretty much the exact same thing. So even if it comes out, here's another good one. Like we all love, what about Jeffrey Jones? We all enjoyed Beetlejuice. He was the dad in that, right? We all liked the principal character in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Okay. He literally admitted, I'm a possessor of child pornography, and he felt shamed for it and everything. Are you never going to watch the movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off again, or just
Never.
say, I'm completely renouncing myself from Beetlejuice because he's in it? Of course you're not going to do that. So, we do have to learn how to step around certain things. I can understand not wanting to break bread with the man I can understand getting out of his fan club, just like I can understand, not wanting to go to the Bill Cosby show anymore after what came out about him, or all these things. But how far are we going to push this? You know what I mean? I think there's just a line. Right now, we have no proof that adrenochrome is real or that it's being ingurgitated by anybody for any purposes, except Martha Stewart, which is an absolute dead ringer for truth. The woman, 81 years old, give me a break, and claims to have had minimal work done. What's minimal to you? Like an entire body transplant?
Well, I was going to say Beverly Hills minimal. Probably, everyone's probably had work done. So,
and hanging out with Snoop Dogg too. How low can you sink? It's bad enough that she had zillions of dollars already and was an insider fucking trader because, of course, she couldn't have enough money. But then now hanging out with Snoop Dogg, like a bona fide pedophile, a bona fide, I'm gonna get up that 14-year-old. Yeah, that it's like in his music. It's like everyday stuff, and we accept it because it's Snoop Dogg. But oh hell, if it comes from Woody Allen or anybody else, it's what a terrible human being.
Oh man, how did we fall into this rabbit hole?
Because you didn't know what adrenochrome was.
I didn't, and man, what a just a virgin lifestyle I lead, and pure lifestyle I lead if I didn't know what adrenochrome is.
I wish I could have. I'm sorry that we had to displace your adrenochrome virginity on the program today, but there it went. And by that I mean your knowledge of it, not certainly your partaking in it, because again, we still don't know where we can get a vial. And if we did, speaking of vials, how vile would that be? I mean, we'd send it right back. I wonder what the shelf life of that stuff is, if it's real. There's also something about walnuts in all of this too. I'm missing that. This woman I work with is nuts, certifiably, absolutely.
I think we need to get her on the program.
On
the program.
Need to get as far away from her as possible. Trust me. But there's something about walnuts that's lost in all of this too, and that brings me to Andrew Zimmern, Mr. I'll Eat Anything, the guy that had the show. I forget what was the show called?
Yeah, Strange Eats or.
Okay, yeah. So this thing. Mm-hmm. The guy literally, maggot encrusted cheese, pops it in his mouth. It's actually kind of piquant. It's nutty. Anything.
Yeah.
Hates walnuts. What does that tell you?
No, it doesn't taste like chicken. That's for sure. Remember that was the thing you'd always say. It tastes like chicken.
Well, yeah, and that's actually true of a lot of things. I think that are
bizarre.
From what I've heard, I'm not going to eat. I can't go back to being a vegetarian. My body just wouldn't allow it. I tried it, but I need some animal protein. So I was pescatarian for a while.
Well, we got on this topic at work once, and
yeah,
I think that one of the things that my coworker and I were talking about was it's amazing to me how much more food you have to eat when it's just vegetables than if it's some form of synthesized protein or some kind of and I'm not talking bar or anything like that. I'm talking like just pure,
naturally sourced
whole food.
Beans.
Yeah, whole foods, not, anything that's processed.
Legumes.
Yeah,
legumes,
you have to eat a ton of vegetables and fruits in order to just try to, feel like you're even eating the same amount of, and I can see how, our diets evolved into needing proteins and these other more complex. So what was it that did it in for you? Because I know a few people who've tried to go complete vegetarian and they haven't succeeded.
Well, like I said, didn't stop eating fish or shellfish. So mine was really more of a pescatarian bent, I suppose. I must have gone, I think I've told this story before on the pod, but for those that haven't heard it or just couldn't get enough of it the first time.
For those who have just tuned in.
I want to say I lasted almost a year it was at least 6, if not 9 months, and possibly even longer. But finally, I just started to, I just didn't have enough energy. I wasn't powered enough. And like I said, like that little Higgs boson particle kicked in and started speaking to me and said, look, kiddo, we really applaud the effort. We understand that you're doing this because you love animals and you don't want them to be hurt. And, your intention was absolutely the best. But, kiddo, you were born with teeth that are designed to shred flesh. There's no other reason to have them. You don't need those teeth because you need to bite into an ear of corn. You have those because they're designed to tear into meat, and you need some. So, for God's sake, start eating at least chicken again, if you would, please. And that's what I did. So it's pretty much chicken and bison and occasionally fish and shellfish. But now that I'm in a relationship, so I'm sharing food and meal planning, because my girlfriend doesn't like fish seemingly that much. So we just don't have it very often. And I also became educated on farm-raised fish. And that was like, ugh. So unless I can find wild caught, and even that is like, well, what's the lesser of those two? I still think a wild caught fish is better than a farm raised fish. Farm raised fish is nasty. The conditions that they are raised in, everything I've seen, read that seems credible to me, horrible, just deplorable conditions. So.
I was looking for something else. I don't know what the hell this is. Here we go.
I was going to say...
On this episode of All Things Considered, we're talking to Jack about the differences between farm-raised and naturally caught. Now, Jack, what is the difference? Sorry.
All Things Considered.
I was looking for the Fresh Air theme
NPR.
song. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good one.
All answers to NPR questions should be, well, if I survive the boredom long enough to actually filter this through my brain chemistry and provide an answer, I'll be lucky.
On this episode, Jack talks about his book that he just finished, about the differences.
And they pride themselves on it. That's the weird thing. It's like, people give them a tap on the shoulder and go, hey, do you think maybe this is a little plain, just a little bit like bland, just slightly stale? You might want to liven it up just a little bit. No, this is exactly what we want to hear.
And then on the weekends, they've got the Car Talk guys who are just like laughing half the time.
Because they're high.
They're doing something right, I guess. But yeah, no, it's hilarious when you look at the public radio hosts and just the overall presentation of the programs. Now, I do seek out some of their news programs, but yeah, some of them are just off the hook.
I feel like every program on NPR should be named after an extremely bland food. So it's like, today on the Zwieback Hour, we have I guess steal the Simpsons line about the talking Al Gore doll. Pull the string. You are hearing me talk. And it's pretty much like that. That just summarized every NPR host ever. Or the good. Triscuit Hour, or the Triscuit Basket, or I don't know. It's one of those weird things. So speaking of baskets and food,
yes,
this is something else. This is something else that I wanted to bring up because this is a point of contention for Jack.
Uh-oh.
The grocery store that I shop at the most frequently in my neighborhood appears to have decided that they don't want to hire anybody to bag groceries because half the time I'm left doing it. And at first I was really put off because having your groceries bagged was always part of the expectation of the price of going to the store. It's like they got to build that in somehow, right? You go to the grocery store and you buy more than a small bag of something in the self-check, you expect it to be bagged by somebody, right? Well, this store, I call it Freddy Kroger's. Freddy Kroger's stopped getting baggers for this. Apparently they didn't want to pay them, or they didn't have enough of them, or they mismanaged their hours or something, because suddenly I start doing it. And initially I was pretty peeved about that because I thought, this is bullshit. I mean, I shouldn't have to bag my own groceries. Now I'm begging to bag my own groceries whenever someone is there to bag them, because God forbid I sound like an old man too much for saying this, but the newfangled generation, they don't know how to bag groceries. And it's getting especially frustrating for me, because I would think they grew up playing at least a few games of Tetris, right?
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it doesn't really take that much brain power to figure out, okay, this square peg round hole, no good. This goes here. This is heavier. It goes on the bottom. This is on top. This is cold. So it should probably go in a bag the same. There's a separation, and there's not so many compartments that it would be overwhelming, I would think, to the human brain to figure this out. The young people they have doing this, they don't have a clue. And I'm sorry to pick on the youth, but they need picking on, because bagging groceries isn't that tough. And if you're going to run the world one day, which you are in one way, shape, or form, I would prefer that you know how to bag groceries without doing significant product damage. You know what I mean? And no, there hasn't been anything I don't buy a lot of bread, so there's never been anything as egregious as placing, a 20-pound turkey on top of my loaf of bread. That hasn't happened because I've never bought those things together. But it's just the semblance of it. There is none. It's quite alarming to me, and I just felt like it needed to be brought up. It doesn't maybe warrant more than a few minutes of our time today, but I just had to mention.
I had a family member who worked at a grocery store in the 60s, and he prided himself on being able to pack a family vehicle because he also worked at a grocery store.
Thank you.
And the grocery store provided him with the experience, the training that he needed to pack the vehicle.
Yeah.
Young man works at a grocery store, learns how to pack a sedan with this is a jazzy one too. I like this one.
Oh yeah, this kind of turned that went from like 8th century Rome to like Scatman really quick.
It really did, didn't it? No. My family member prided himself on being able to pack a family sedan because he worked at a grocery store and knew how to pack groceries efficiently and effectively. It's a thing. People who've worked at grocery stores, it's a thing.
Well, they got to train them. They don't obviously give them any training. They just turn them loose and say, "Yeah, just bag the groceries and then clock out when we tell you to take your lunch." And it's a fundamental part of a grocery store is if they're going to bag your groceries. Look, if you want to discontinue the practice of bagging my groceries, just say so. Just put a sign up and says, "You're bagging your own fucking groceries, asshole." Okay, good. Fine. I guess I can live with that because I need to get my shit out of the store.
In a lot of foreign countries, it's very common to bag your own groceries.
That's just it. I don't mind. You just have to tell me, because if I go into the regular checkout lines, then I'm looking around going, where's the person that's supposed to bag my groceries? And it's like, oh, there they are. And they're 15-year-old, I'm going to use a name that no one would ever use anymore because it's far too mundane. Maybe it's 15-year-old Danny, but it's spelled Daynineauy.
It's kind of like when you used to go on family vacations to Oregon and you realize that you can't pump your own gas in Oregon.
You can now.
You can now, but you used to not be able to. And it was like,
yeah.
What?
Because somebody blew themselves up in like 1952 with a lit cigarette outside the thing. And so Oregon, being, I don't know what sun sign Oregon is. Washington's a Scorpio, but that's a very Cancerian knee-jerk reaction is, oh, someone blew themselves up, so now we can't trust anybody to do it. And so suddenly you can't pump your own gas.
Yeah, it became like a protected job.
They still pump your gas in Oregon. You can tell them to, hey, back off, man, I'm pumping my own, and they have to. But they still come running and go, pump your gas, sir? How much today? And it's just like, I don't want to hand my debit card to somebody that makes less than me. I'm sorry, but how is this safe? there's got to be some people that have been scratching off numbers or taking imprints or something that way too, right?
Stand back, kid. I'm from Washington. In Washington, we pump our own gas.
2 states actually where you couldn't pump your own gas for the longest time. Oregon and New Jersey actually was another one, but they lightened up, I think, a few years ago too. So now you can do it in both locations. But yeah, something else wrangled me in there too, but thankfully for everybody listening, it's gone.
It's gone now. It's okay, kids.
I won't have to go on another.
We'll just leave him to his own demise. My wife and I were talking the other day about bars. She has a coworker who was unfamiliar with the bar world, and not the bar that you go to like Moe's Tavern and have a drink with a few people. No, this is these are like the snack bars.
Yeah,
and
I eat those every day.
My wife is big on baking, and so she said, "Oh, I'm going to make some scotcheroos."
Scotcheroos. And make some scotcheroos.
And it got me thinking about the world of bars and how, it's kind of a white person thing, really. I mean, it was probably something that was created in the 1950s.
The race card has been dropped on the show. With
people who were, at home and looking for unique ways of incorporating leftover food, and we've got this great idea. We can incorporate it into a bar. And was your mom a big bar person?
We had bars, yeah.
Bars.
We had granola bars, like the early forms of granola bars.
No, I'm talking about the homemade ones. I'm talking about the ones that like you put sweetened condensed milk and usually the base is always a some form of cereal. So Rice Krispies is a good example of a bar. You take a cereal, you add a bunch of sweet marshmallows to it, and maybe you add in some M&Ms, and then that creates the bar. And then my wife and I were talking about all of the different variations of bars.
My mom, in fact, two of my favorite cookies that I grew up with my childhood were Rocky Road bars and maraschino cherry bars.
Ooh.
But they were cookies. They weren't, you couldn't pass them off as being healthy and say, well, this is a snack to provide there's boost of energy during the day. They were
There's
cookies.
Nothing healthy about a bar.
They were confections.
Yeah,
but both of them were fantastic. And I just looked up the recipes of those over the holidays because I was considering making them, but then I backed down.
What was the maraschino cherry bar?
Maraschino cherry bars were, and you can find this recipe online, so thank God it's still out there. It's some kind of a blonde crust on the bottom. It might be kind of like a shortbread sort of thing or like a cookie, just basic thing. And then there is a filling, which is made of chopped maraschino cherries and some other kind of goo that is the middle layer. And then the top layer, they're frosted, and it's a pretty conventional frosting, but you use the juice from the maraschino cherries jars to turn it pink. And then there's shredded sweetened coconut sprinkled on top. They're phenomenal. And of course, I am a huge maraschino cherry nut, so I always had Mom stack some extra maraschino action in there for me. It's kind of like the everlasting salad. I almost feel like I told that.
We did,
tale.
Yeah. We talked about that.
Yeah, so the everlasting salad I grew up eating around the holidays had 2 cans of fruit cocktail in it. And of course, we all know fruit cocktail. They cinch you, on the frickin' maraschino cherry. You get like 1/2. And then my brother and I would always fight over it. So when I grew up and became an adult and started making my own everlasting salad, well, the fruit cocktail just went out the plain window. I used just jars of maraschino cherries and pecans, toasted pecans and pineapple and coconut, and I've made my own. So it's chock full of maraschino cherries. It's nothing but maraschino cherries and marshmallow in some ways. So you're making me want that too.
No, and I think this is a good topic because I think bars were probably created in the same era of culinary U.S. masterpiece as like the casseroles.
Yeah,
and
it's a Betty Crocker homemaker era thing.
It is,
for
isn't
sure.
it? Yeah, it's like take something that's left over and find a way to repurpose it into something else. And my wife, you were talking about the cherries. My wife actually goes as far as to order on, thank you, Amazon. She orders these cherry, they're like chocolate chips, but they're cherry chips.
Yeah.
And she puts
yummy.
those into some kind of a bar she melts them and then puts chocolate on top of it. So it's like a giant sugary maraschino cherry compote with a layer of chocolate on top, and then she cuts it into these bars. So it's like cherry fudge, essentially.
It's like a Vance Lovelace bar. I mean, it's like a Barry White bar. It's pink in the middle and dark on the outside, you know? I mean, that sort of thing, from what I hear. I was just thinking about butterscotch chips the other day. I love butterscotch. Well, I just love butterscotch. The flavor is awesome. But butterscotch chips, and so, and they know how to get you, because I'm convinced, sadly, we talk all the time about how our devices listen to us.
Yeah.
I'm beginning to think that there are at least sectors of the technology that are in play now that can read your fucking mind. And it scares me to death, because I swear I was just barely thinking about butterscotch chip cookies not too long ago. And then, wouldn't you know, just out of the blue, here it is popping up on my phone, suggested content or some kind of news.
And now we're
thing,
talking about
like,
it, of course.
I just, well, of course, because I want them. But here's the thing, you sons of bitches, I have willpower, and you can't break it down at this time, because I'm not going to eat cookies and cakes and all that stuff until I lose this weight that I want to.
I had a scotcheroo before the cast, and
scotcheroo.
It is butterscotch chips melted around Rice Krispies. There we go. There's the cereal base. And then on top, there's a giant layer of chocolate. So when my wife makes bars, there's always a giant layer of chocolate on top. And so that you get this crust of really thick chocolate on top of the bars. Yeah. And my grandma would always put, I always didn't like that. She would always put like walnuts or pecans on top of everything.
Oh yeah, that's healthy. Get rid of those nuts.
So then you would get the nut and the chocolate. I was like, just put the chocolate. No nuts. Just the chocolate.
That's funny. As soon as I'm done, I'm not dieting, but I'm exercising and just staying away from foul sweets that I want so badly. So the next time your wife, after I'm done with that little thing, next time she makes a scotcheroo, she's got to save one for me. I want to try her scotcheroos.
Yeah. Well, it
sounds like a kid's tennis shoe.
Oh, it totally does.
In some ways, it's just like, hey kids, did you know that before the beloved former head of state of the United Kingdom, Mr. Winston Churchill, died, he actually invented a kind of shoe for you little ones called scotcheroos, and now you can get them. And the beautiful thing is that you can keep your balance even when you're completely smashed, lad, right? So these take you right into adulthood, ready for a world where you're drunk off your ass constantly, trying to forget about the paradigm, being whipped all day by some slave master. Hey, you got scotcheroos, fuck you. That's what I get out of scotcheroos.
Scotcheroos.
And somewhere Winston's just like, yes, I have them here, my scotcheroos.
Well, we were just laughing.
I always remember at Winston Churchill. The number one thing I remember Winston Churchill ever saying was from the Iron Maiden live album that we all had when we were kids. I think it was called Live After Death. And he does the intro. They played the Churchill speech before Aces High. And it's literally him just, red-faced as ever, 40 pints in him that morning, giving a speech to the masses during World War II. We shall fight in the hills. We shall fight in the streets. We will never surrender. And boom, and they go into the song. It's like, yes, I want to be this man.
Well, we were
God.
talking about bars because bars are a popular thing in my wife's cooking lexicon, and she had a coworker who was like, "What is that?" And she's like, "Oh, let me tell you, this is a bar."
So do you know the movie Searching for Mr. Goodbar?
No.
It hardly has to do with cookies or granola. I can tell you that. If you're Searching for Mr. Goodbar is one of those great 70s movies that you could file alongside Taxi Driver or Midnight Cowboy.
Okay.
Midnight Cowboy was 60s, I believe, but maybe not. Anyway, it's right in that era. It was when cinema was telling like lavish tales of reality, like hard life. This is what's going on the streets, drug use, murder, all these things. And it was shocking audiences everywhere and providing a hell of a lot of entertainment and raising some damn fine actors in the process. Dustin Hoffman, what's his name from Taxi Driver? Just said
De Niro.
What's his name? Robert De Niro. Yeah, exactly. So I don't remember who's in Looking for Mr. Goodbar, but it's about a woman who is promiscuous and she goes to disco clubs and nightclubs. I want to say the movie came out 76, 77. You can
Let's look
do the
it
looking up. You're sort of our official look it up person, but she winds up sleeping around looking for Mr. Goodbar. She's looking for the right man the wrong way is basically the story. And I don't want to give the ending away, but I will. So if you haven't seen it, and my incredible synopsis is enough to make you want to watch it if you've never seen it, plug your ears because I'm about to give away the ending. She is murdered at the end. She dies, actually, from autoerotic sex that she's having with a man whom, of course, she picked up in a bar looking for Mr. Goodbar. When I was a kid, and I was like 4 or 5 when that movie came out, and my parents watched it on home video or HBO when it was brand new or something like that. Of course, you hear Looking for Mr. Goodbar, I'm thinking it's Willy Wonka Part 2. I'm like, well, hell, they're looking around for a chocolate bar. This is a great movie. And my parents are like, no, it's not that kind of
chocolate bar.
You go play with something in your room.
So Diane Keaton, Richard Gere.
Diane Keaton, yeah, Richard Gere, that's right. How could I forget? It's been a long time since I've seen it. But anyway, that's Looking for Mr. Goodbar.
1977.
So 77, that's what I thought. Yeah.
Put it on my list.
Have a double feature, and I don't know what order you like your depression in, but if you like it first, then watch that first, and then watch one of my favorite all-time 70s movies with Richard Dreyfuss and Marsha Mason, which is The Goodbye Girl. That's a fabulous movie. I mean, to me, that's a must-watch for everybody. Like bitter and acrid about acerbic, I guess I should say, about his approach to life and people in some ways. He's known for bashing things. He loves that movie too. I heard him talking about that movie briefly on a podcast or a vlog, and he loves it because he said it's the best movie that ever displays like 70s New York, what 70s New York was like, because it's set in New York City. And so he felt like that was the perfect depiction of late 1970s New York City life, but which I would know nothing about, having been raised all the way across the country in what may as well be Idaho, but we all have our cross to bear. So,
yeah, this is a dark movie. Looking for Mr. Goodbar. I don't think I'm going to find it on any streaming services.
That would surprise me. It's a pretty well-known movie, actually, or at least it used to be. But I can't believe I forgot Diane Keaton and Richard Gere were in it. But like I said, it's been a long time since I've seen it. And unless you're up for a depressing watch, then and it's certainly not one for the kids either.
You're so right, though. It does seem like there was a time there where movies were very dark. Taxi Driver was one of them. Like you said, Midnight Cowboy.
Well, we'd moved out of the fantasy realm finally and realized that things that actually we kind of had gone to the other side of the spectrum. So instead of this fantastical reality that only a very few people seemingly live if they're extraordinarily wealthy and can have and afford all these experiences, and that's what the cinema is bringing us largely, unless it's just not downright fantasy, then mundane life, in what was becoming suburbia or every day going to work, punching the clock. That's not interesting. But this complete other side, this seedy, dark side of existence on, the streets and back alleys of big cities and metropolitan areas and stuff, that became a big interest point for Hollywood moviegoers. And all of those movies that I mentioned are phenomenal films. I mean, I would think of my favorite of those movies that I mentioned has got to be Midnight Cowboy. I mean, that's just a remarkable film. It's just a good movie. There's just no other way to put it. I mean, how do you not love Ratso Rizzo? And is it John Huston who played
John Schlesinger?
Schlesinger who played Tex, right?
Sorry,
John
it's
Huston.
yeah.
Anyway,
my bad.
Good stuff.
That wasn't. I think we need to mark that. Yeah, Justin Hoffman, John Voight.
John Voight. Yeah.
Yeah. There we go.
Yeah. So anyway, a bygone era, and certainly different than what will entertain people today. Now, I know I was just talking with my girlfriend about this, and it may not sit too well with her, but like one of the other things that I was wanting to talk about, since we're just on a hodgepodge today, we may as well throw
throw the script out the window.
Well, she watches certainly things that I can't do nearly as much of, and I don't think it's because I wasn't raised with them. I think it's just because I just don't like reaction videos. And I know it'd be really easy for people to say, well, what's your problem, Jack? You tell us what you think about things. Well, that is true. But to me, just the whole notion of the reaction video is just like, I don't get what that is. I don't understand why I would care about what, like there is a rather well-known, I won't say famous, maybe internet famous, because that's like a different thing. She is from our hometown. She's from where we live. She went to high school here. And she's a trained opera singer. And she has a whole channel and years worth of videos of reaction to first time hearing James Hetfield from Metallica, first time hearing
Seriously?
Mike Kiske from Halloween. Yeah. And that's the shtick is. And then, of course, everything is just, oh, my God. Oh, my God.
Never seen that before.
And then you might get something more like, he's so high. His range is so high. Oh, my God. And then the oh, my God start again for another 8 or 10.
Yeah.
I don't. And again, I don't mean to be sour grapes. I know people enjoy watching this kind of stuff. I don't know why personally. I know they enjoy producing it because, hey, it couldn't be easier, right? I mean, you just plug in. Okay, so somehow I got to be 35 years old and had never heard of Nat King Cole. So this is the first time I've ever listened to this bloke. Let's see. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Yeah, okay, so that's a video now, apparently. Okay, fine. That's entertainment. Okay, that's fine. The other thing that I think has happened and what kind of spurned this on, I've long had this soapbox about the reaction videos because I just can't stand them. There's too many of them. I don't know what exactly is it that we're supposed to care why you think.
Right.
What, like, who are you? I mean, you kind of have to earn that reputation, don't you?
Well,
a little bit.
I think some of them are over the top. Like some of them are just these people who have these just over the top personalities. And so then, you've got this person who maybe the one that I've seen is this lady who's very meek. And you can tell that maybe she was in like a cult for the first 30 years of her life. And so, everything is like brand new to her. And so that was the one that I was kind of like, okay, this is interesting. But this one that you referenced here that I'm watching now, this one's not as interesting as she was. This lady looked like she literally was probably in a cult for the first 30 years of her life, and she had never had a Slurpee from 7-Eleven. And then all of a sudden, she tries Coca-Cola for the first time. Hey, by the way, that was a video that I ran across not too long ago. It was these tribes in the deep in the Amazon that had never had Coca-Cola before. And one of them tries Coca-Cola for the first time, and the young man like literally faints on camera because he's never had something like Coca-Cola before. And then they're all like,
never have it again.
and they're all looking at the bottle, and like the bubbles are like going up on the side, and they keep pointing at the bubbles, and they're just like, "What is this? What is this?" And then they drink it, and they're like, "Whoa, that's good!" And then the kid gets up off the ground and tries to drink more of it.
I'd like to host that. So when they ask you, like, "What is this? What is it?" I hold it up and say, "Fellas, this is what we're laying waste to your homeland for." Right here. Big Mac and a Coke. That's exactly what's killing your fucking rainforest, because McDonald's has chopped it all down for their fucking cattle and their soybeans that they feed them and raise on their land for 2 cents an acre. And that's the truth, by the way. So it's the gods must be crazy. The pilot throws the Coke bottle out of the airplane, and the tribe that's never seen Western civilization before picks it up, and suddenly that object comes from the gods, and here we go. Yeah. That's my biggest issue, I think, with most of these reaction videos, is it relies upon, yes, most of the vloggers who do this are young or young-ish, between late teens and early 30s, we'll say. But still, it relies pretty heavily on you going through life with an internet age of potential exposure and not having heard about some of the most well-known bands and singers that have come out in the last 40 years. I have a hard time buying that it's your first time. I mean, an Amazon native who is tucked away in the jungles and never gets out much into Western civilization, God bless him, gets fed a Coca-Cola. That I suppose I can see. I don't see personally, I think that's sad, personally. I would like to see those people go their whole lives without trying it, but that's me kind of pissing on Coca-Cola, too. To me, the whole thing doesn't wash, and that's why. It's just, like you not having ever seen Mr. Goodbar, looking for Mr. Goodbar. I can believe that, because you weren't born in the 70s. I mean, I was born in 73, so I was very young when that movie came out. I probably shouldn't have known about it until I was older, but I was also raised very maturely, I guess. And I was exposed to a lot of things at a young age that maybe most parents wouldn't do. But I've known about that movie since I was 5 or 6 years old. Like I said, when I first heard the title, I thought it was, had Purple Pie Man in it, and they were going to go searching for a candy bar. But
so the name of this lady's channel is Virgin Rock, and she does the...
Hi, everyone. Today I am going to be listening to Santana playing Black Magic Woman. Well, I'm not very familiar with this band, this name, so let me do a little bit of
NPR, huh?
Santana is an American rock band formed in San Francisco in 1966 by Mexican-born guitarist Carlos Santana. Well, I paused there for a minute thinking maybe there's something about San Francisco Santana, but actually, no, it's his last name.
Santana Francisco. Yeah, that's good.
This is the lady who kind of looks like she may have been in a cult for the first 30 years of her life. And so then on this one, she's listening to Dire Straits, Brothers in Arms.
Okay, so this is going to be my first listen to Brothers in Arms, but also my first exposure to the band Dire Straits. As I said in the announcement video, Vlad told me that this album topped the charts for weeks on end.
Vlad?
Not just in the US, but around the world.
Vlad, like that's your advisor, Vlad.
So I guess it's a pretty significant album.
She has a giant harp in the background,
He told me also
too.
that there are actually
Brought you Dire Straits this week. You check out for fans.
Really well-known, popular, famous, whatever. But he's chosen the title piece for me to listen to as my first exposure.
So yeah, so Virgin Rock is the name, and I don't want to go into the videos because we're going to get flagged because of copyright.
How Dire Straits feels about that. My first exposure. I'm thinking like the first people who were exposed to Dire Straits probably landed in jail, is my guess, right?
I never even thought about that.
That's the first thing that jumps to my mind.
Or somebody who's exposed to like a virus or something, you know?
It sounds like a Scorpions album, First Exposure.
But how is it that YouTube doesn't flag this lady's first watching or viewing of some video? She must have to click the little button that says that it's for educational purposes or something like that. Because if you can see her,
it clearly is.
I mean, if you could see her face, she's watching the music video of Brothers in Arms. And I know I'm not doing it any justice by my description of this. She has a giant harp in the background, and she's watching this music video of the Dire Straits band for the first time.
I guess,
and then
I've always been harder to please, I guess, when it comes to my entertainment.
And she's talking about it right now.
I don't understand what kind of value this woman could impart to anything. It's lost on me.
Oh, is that an accordion? What is that I'm watching? But anyway,
I don't know. I'm out. I can't stand them. I can't tolerate them. And the other thing that this has spawned, it's a cousin phenomenon online, is the movie, not review, but the deep dive. The let's watch a movie. And, it's kind of like memories of something very extraordinary even. It's almost like your prom night, I guess. I didn't have a prom night, so I'm conjecturing here completely. But it's kind of like looking back, it's kind of like looking back on your prom night and thinking that it was a lot more interesting than it actually was. Because isn't it easier to assign meaning, foreshadow, all of these amazing tricks that good writers, and yes, we still have a handful in the world, thank God, but will impart into a story. But most of the movies that have been made, especially in the last, we shall say, 30 to 40 years in particular, if there is a story, it's very, very gauzy. It's extremely thin. And so these people will take these movies and they make a whole video out of it, and they go, today, hi, I'm Nigel. Today, let's go back and look at the movie and pick a movie, any movie, one in particular that may not be quite so deep in meaning, because a lot of times they'll do that. I mean, just throw a random film at me, something that leaps to mind, a comedy, a lighthearted flick.
Oh, Dumb and Dumber.
Action film, Dumb and Dumber. Today, we will take a look at the movie Dumb and Dumber and do a deep dive into what this movie actually means and what messages it was trying to impart to everyone that went to see it in the theaters back in whenever it was made, 1995, you'll have all the specs. And then it goes quickly from ridiculous to sublime to just flat out ludicrous, when it's just like, they'll show the scene, hey, Polly, where he sells him the dead parrot. Right. The kid, right. The blind kid, the dead parrot. And he'll pause the video. So let's watch this very interesting scene and they'll play it. And then the next thing you know, Nigel pops back in with his narrative and says, this scene where the young boy downstairs is in possession of the dead bird that has been given to him by the character portrayed by Jim Carrey is actually a metaphor telling us that all of us have wings and have the ability to fly, but can't always see it. It's just like, give me a fucking break. It's not what
Professor,
it fucking says.
Professor, could we please fast forward to the scene where Lloyd puts the X-Lax serum in his drink?
Yes, let's take a look at that scene right now. It's interesting you should mention that. Let's just go right to it.
Let's do it.
And then and of course, what this scene is telling us, Seabass, whom these two have encountered earlier on, who, of course, is a metaphor for Jack the Ripper himself, of course, embodied within that of a trucker or some stevedore who happens to be hanging out in this roadside cafe, of course. This is a quintessential look into how we all want to pass society's worst people through us. You see, the X-lax is the way that we actually, the diuretic that we need in our lives to be able to actually cleanse ourselves of this repugnance. Stop trying to sell us on the fact that we all missed it and you're the only one who got it, because there's nothing there to get. And that really annoys me.
You look so pretty, dressed to kill. The burning question is if you will.
Man, I just am guessing to find out who our featured artist on this cast is today.
I just totally, threw something random up this week. That's Taxi with 2 X's, by the way.
The thing I love about the music that Jack picks for the podcast, ladies and gentlemen, is that it never gets flagged for copyright infringement.
That is the idea, after all.
It is. I love it.
99% of my music collection is unflaggable.
Yeah, it's untraceable, one might say.
Right.
All right, Jack, until we meet again.
All right, look forward to it. Adios. Don't watch too many of those videos.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Well, it looks like Jack and Michael have finished up their latest chat about all things existence. But if anything they said got your own existence brewing, be sure and catch their other talks at existencebrewing.com and drop them an email to share your thoughts using contact@existencebrewing.com.
Existence Brewing.